Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Wrestling Highlights of the Week, presented by My Two Cents Podcast, hosted by G2. I am G2. For the people that's unaware of what the Wrestling Highlights of the Week is, well, let me tell you. It consists of me talking about everything that happened in the world of professional wrestling, whether it comes from the world of WWE, AEW, or TNA. I'll talk about the things that happen on the screens, on these programs, and also a little bit of stuff behind the scenes as well. This episode, I'll be talking about WWE and TNA having their partnership actually being confirmed. I'll be talking about the potential that's coming out of this partnership that has been legitimately confirmed by both companies. I'll talk about things that happened on AEW this week and some of the stuff that people are speculating about AEW right now. And speaking of which, I want to start off with AEW. Usually I start with TNA, but with TNA having that announcement with WWE, I think I need to get into AEW first before I get to TNA. So AEW. AEW this week, they had their Maximum Carnage show, which was the title show of Dynamite this week. On Dynamite this week, we had the in-ring debut of MVP, when you had the Hurt Syndicate, which is MVP, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin, take on Private Party, which is the AEW Tag Team Champions, and Mark Briscoe. Now, the Hurt Syndicate would win the match. I don't think it was no shocker to anybody that this happened. There's one thing in this matchup that I want to make note of. Commentary. Taz, at one point in this match, when MVP hit his balling elbow drop, he mentioned that that's a throwback from MVP, and he mentioned how he was actually around when all three of those men got their first start on mainstream television wrestling, and it made me stop and realize that Taz is actually right. Taz was on commentary for WWE on SmackDown when all three of those men actually made their debuts on SmackDown, with Shelton Benjamin coming in late 2002, with Charlie Haas to be the world's greatest tag team. Bobby Lashley coming in, I want to say late 2005, and MVP coming in late 2006. And all on that timeline, Taz was on commentary. Taz and Michael Cole was on commentary for that time. And when Taz mentioned that, it just made me go back to that time. And I was like, oh snap, Taz really was around. That's crazy. But again, that was just one thing that I did catch on commentary with that trios matchup. But Hurt Syndicate won the match over Private Party and Mark Briscoe. We had Ricochet get stalked by Swerve. This was after Ricochet comes to the ring. He was supposed to say something, but the fans would boo him. Prince Nana will pop out through the crowd, hit Ricochet in the back with a chair. This is when Swerve will come out and start stalking Ricochet, slow like a Halloween movie villain. He would take the chain that's wrapped around his neck and try to hit Ricochet with it, but Ricochet would roll out of the ring, jump over the barricade, and Swerve would give chase, but again, he would do it like horror movie style. No running. He would just literally just slow stalk Ricochet, as Ricochet would just run out of the arena. So this is telling you that Swerve and Ricochet's business is still continuing, and he would announce that in 3 weeks on Dynamite, it would be Swerve and Ricochet having their matchup on Dynamite. So I was happy that they announced that. We had the return of Samoa Joe on this episode of Dynamite when Hook took on Christian Cage, and Hook had Shibata with him while Christian Cage had his patriarchy with him, Nick Wayne, Kip Sabian, and Mother Wayne. The numbers game was too much for Hook. Christian Cage and his patriarchy would beat up on Hook, beat up on Shibata. That's when Samoa Joe would come out. Samoa Joe would come out, make the save. He's back on AEW. I think that he was gone away making Twisted Metal, reprising his role as Sweet Tooth. So I think that's why he was gone for these many months. But now that he's back, I'm happy to see him back. I'm happy to see him back with Hook and Shibata. Hopefully, we get those three guys going into the trios division because I got some things to say about that. But yeah, I'm happy to see Samoa Joe back, and hopefully this thing will Hook and Christian Cage can come to an end soon. Speaking of something that needs to end soon, MJF and Jeff Jarrett. They had an in-ring segment this week, and boy, did that thing carry. That thing was... that thing needed to wrap up. It took a lot of time in the ring, and those two were just throwing insults at one another, and it just didn't hit. I felt it watching it. The people online that was watching it as well, they felt the same way. I said last week I wanted to see where we could go with this MJF and Jeff Jarrett thing, but just looking at them having a legit battle of mic skills, if they would have did 5 minutes, I think it would have been fine, but it was longer than 5 minutes. And yeah, man, I'm just not feeling it after that promo. I'm not. Because this is something that... How do I put this? Jeff Jarrett's on this ride to try to become a world champion before he officially retires. Because he already mentioned that he's on his last contract with AEW. And MJF, he's playing the weasel, as he's always been. He's not trying to go after Jon Moxley fair. He wants someone to do the dirty work, and he'll come in and take the title right off of him. That's what MJF is trying to do here. And him going after Jeff Jarrett, like Jeff Jarrett's going to be the one to take the title off of Moxley, that's just where we got the misconfusion to me. Again, I was willing to give it a shot last week, but now I'm quick with the, we need to hurry up and have this match with MJF and Jeff Jarrett so MJF can go off and do something else. Because MJF, I get it. Again, he's supposed to be the weasel, but he's supposed to be trying to go after his Triple B. He's supposed to be trying to get his world title back. And he's at least supposed to be trying to go and do it with someone that at least has a visible and actual viable shot to take the title off of Mox. Jeff Jarrett ain't the guy. Again, I had hope for it, but now I don't. So hopefully they have a match soon. We get done with this, and Jeff Jarrett can still try to hop along to get that world title before he's done this year. But time will tell if they will speed up this storyline of MJF and Jeff Jarrett. We had the Women Casino Gauntlet this week, where the winner will face off against Mariah May at Grand Slam in Australia. Toni Storm won that, but we did have the debut of Megan Bayne. Megan Bayne is a female independent professional wrestler that it has been speculated online, I'll say for in 2024 that she was signed to AEW just like Camille was, but we just didn't know when they will put her on television. And we finally got our answer. She popped up this week on television, actually making her official AEW Dynamite debut. And she had a nice little showing. Her and Chris Statlander, I would like to see them actually have a match one-on-one with one another. Her and Willow Nightingale, I would like to see those two have a match. But Megan Bayne, she's now here. Congrats. But Toni Storm wins the Women's Casino Gauntlet. And now she'll be going against Mariah May at Grand Slam Australia for the AEW Women's Championship. And this will be the first time Mariah May and Toni Storm have ever stepped foot in the ring with one another, or at least had any type of contact with one another since their match at All In 2024. So that's about a good, All In happened in August, so that's September, October, November, December, January. 5 months. 5 months since they've met with one another or had any interaction with one another. And I will say that I'm happy that they're doing this, and hopefully we can do something with this. Because right now, I'm going to say this, Mariah May's Women's Championship reign hasn't been up to snuff. I'll put it in the same ballpark of a Liv Morgan or even a Gunther. But I can't even say Liv Morgan. I'll scratch that Liv Morgan thing, because Liv at least was on television like that. I'll put it with the Gunther reign, because Gunther was a guy that we knew was going to win the world title, just like we knew Mariah May was going to win the women's world title whenever she got into that feud with Tony. We knew that was the end game. And once both Gunther and Mariah got the championships, we all thought, okay, they got the titles. We wanted to see where they can go, what type of stuff they can do. And both of them haven't really hit where it needed to hit with their championship reigns. I get both of them are in their first reigns as world champions, but both of them haven't really hit on anything. And that's a problem. But sticking in AEW, Mariah May, Toni Storm, we all knew that was the end goal for them to get back to it. But with Toni doing this whole rookie amnesia thing that she got, I still think it's a downplay. I still think it's this whole timeless Toni Storm, the whole actress deal, reworking it out to make it seem that she has amnesia, doing this whole rookie Toni Storm thing to psych out everybody, and all in the end, it will be, oh snap, timeless Toni Storm. She played everyone to get at Mariah May. I think that should be the way it could go. People have pitched other ideas. Again, I will have to wait and see. I want to see as we lead into Grand Slam with both of those ladies. They have some interactions with one another. If this is where they're going with the amnesia thing, have Toni slowly start remembering certain things about her time in AEW, whether it be her time in the Outcast or her time as timeless Toni Storm. Have her slowly start remembering things, and then when we hit to Grand Slam Australia, she remembers everything, and then we get it firing on all cylinders, and allow the story to be what it be. Allow AEW to either take the title off of Mariah May and put it back on Toni, or they have Mariah May beat Toni, and they start giving Mariah May some actual people to get in storylines with, so she can have a credible run as champion. Because something needs to give with this reign with Mariah May, something. Because she needs credible challengers, she needs to be an actual storyline, she needs to be on television. But time will tell. Once again, we'll wait and see as we go up to Grand Slam in Australia here. What else happened on Dynamite? We had, before I get to the world title, what else? I feel like I'm missing something. How could I miss this? Kenny Omega. He had his in-ring debut for AEW back. He went against Brian Cage. They had a nice solid match. Kenny Omega would win it. I feel that they should have had this match a couple years ago. I don't mean to sound wrong when I say this, but Brian Cage isn't the same Brian Cage like when he first came into AEW coming off of his TNA run. When you look at Brian Cage when he first came into AEW when he was under Team Taz to the Brian Cage now that's under the Don Callis family, I feel that if it's not on purpose, he's like in his old man Logan phase. You know what I mean? Because Brian Cage, if you look at him, he's always like had the Wolverine attire, hairdo, even facial hair stuff, stylist, okay? He's always patterned off of a Wolverine thing. So if we're in, or at least Brian Cage trying to tell us that he's in his old man Logan phase, because when you look at Brian Cage this week, he was wearing black trunks, plain black trunks. My man's hair was not styled up in a way of Brian Cage styling away. It felt like he just had it like spiked up, but when you see him from the back, he had like the bald spot showing. And again, this still could be part of the whole Logan thing that I'm thinking that we're going with Brian Cage, Logan Theory here. It's not Brian Cage. The way that I feel that Brian Cage would have had a good match with Kenny Omega back when he first came in. Kenny Omega and Brian did still have a good match, but it just wasn't. You would have told people a couple of years ago Brian Cage and Kenny Omega would have had a match. They would have been up for it because they knew what to expect, but this just didn't hit expectation. But again, it is what it is with this. After the match was over, you had Lance Archer, Don Callis, Kyle Fletcher attack Kenny Omega. Will Ospreay will come down to make the save. Konosuke Takeshita will come down, and now you have Don Callis' family beat down on Will and Kenny. You had Fletcher and Takeshita hit their respective finishes on Omega and Ospreay and lay them out. So you know we're going to get a tag match somewhere down the line with Fletcher and Takeshita taking on Ospreay and Omega. And when that match happens, I will be happy about it because you're doing a couple things. You're putting two people that have, I don't think, ever been on the tag team together, Omega and Ospreay. You're teaming them together, even though they have some type of past animosities that they never really aired out or at least got cleared of. You got to make them side together to take out a bigger foe, the Don Callis family. And you're still giving the rub to Takeshita and Fletcher. You're still giving them the star power appeal. You're still giving them the platform to make them seem to be bigger deals, to give them that light. So again, I'm liking the way that this is heading. So we got something to see later down the line with that. So that's what I'm good off of this. But yeah, that's what happened there. And in the main event of AEW, you had Powerhouse Hobbs taking on Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. Moxley would retain his title. Again, I don't think no one thought that was going to not be the outcome. Everybody kind of thought that was going to be the outcome. But Powerhouse Hobbs, he did show that he was a monster in this. He gave Jon Moxley a fight. You had the freaking Death Riders try to do everything to make sure Powerhouse Hobbs wouldn't win the title. So they really put over the fact that Powerhouse Hobbs is a strong individual. Like, this is a different version of Powerhouse Hobbs that we haven't seen before with what I believe he got a belt shot. He got the Psycho knee from Yuta. You got the paradigm shift from Moxley, and all those things didn't put him down. It took a bulldog choke for him actually to go down, and Powerhouse Hobbs didn't even tap. He actually just passed out in it. So again, with him losing to Mox, you still got him going over as a strong competitor that gave Mox a hell of a fight. Now, after the match was over, you had the Death Riders come in, beat down on Powerhouse Hobbs, put a chair in the ring, put his ankle inside the chair, step on it, rated FTR. Adam Copeland and FTR will come out after the damage was already done, and they were scare off the Death Riders. So again, we're still continuing on with the Death Riders deal and rated FTR and all that stuff. I want to get to something here. Again, Discourse Online has been talking about it. What is going on with the Death Riders thing? What's not clicking? What needs to be fixed? And there's a couple things that needs to be fixed in this Death Rider storyline here. Or at least needs to be made noted of. First and foremost, I thought someone was supposed to be over the Death Riders. Like, when Jon Moxley first made his way back to AEW off of his hiatus for some time, he came out and talked about how this company isn't theirs anymore or yours anymore. And he was talking to Tony Schiavone, who was basically the figurehead for Tony Khan at the time. He made that mention. And then when he took out Bryan Danielson, he said, I didn't want to do this they made me do this. Alluding to someone being a higher power, kind of like, hey, I didn't want to have to take you out. I had to do it. And everybody, again, was speculating when that happened, like, okay, who is he alluding to? Who is this entity or being saying that, hey, you need to do this to make AEW better, right? And at first, we all thought, okay, it could be Shane McMahon. Because, coincidentally, Tony Khan had a photo with Shane McMahon in some type of place that got leaked out there. And everybody thought, okay, it'll be Shane McMahon. Because that will bring ratings into AEW, or at least get the wrestling world buzzing to try to figure out Shane McMahon, son of Vince McMahon, the man who created WWE, going over to AEW, what could happen? But that never happened. That never ever popped up. Okay, so one, we need to do something with that. Okay, we need to figure out, was there ever anybody over the Death Riders, or this was all a part of Moxley's own cockamamie head? That's one. Two, the championships haven't been displayed on television in some time, especially the AEW World Championship. Moxley being the world champion, the Death Riders of Claudio, Yuta, and Pac, they are the Trios champions, and we haven't seen those belts in some time. Moxley, he has the belt in the briefcase that Marina Shafir always has handcuffed to her wrist. The Trios championships disappeared. Where are they at? We need to see the titles. The titles need to be on the screen. That's something that needs to be abundantly clear. Hell, even when Moxley was defending the title against Orange at Full Gear, you didn't see the title pop out of that briefcase. You just saw them hand over the briefcase to Bryce Remsburg. Bryce lift up the freaking briefcase. Again, not taking the title out of the briefcase. Something like that doesn't need to happen. You need to see that, hey, the title's in here. Let people know, hey, this is the actual briefcase holding the title, not just some faux thing. You need to let them see that the title has been beat up a little bit, because, again, they use that briefcase all the time, and with something inside of a briefcase, things can move around, beat up, get teared up. You can show them a teared up version of the AEW World title, saying that the Death Riders is literally tearing down AEW bit by bit, and they kind of started with the AEW World Championship. You can make that part of the story, but they haven't done so. The Trios Championships, they haven't shown up on television. And Claudio, Pac, and Yuta, they haven't been defending the titles. What are we doing with that? You could easily find a ragtag of three guys that try to go after Claudio, Yuta, and Pac to grab the freaking Trios titles off of them. You can do that. Why are you not doing it? Again, there's just those two things that I quickly saw this week, people talking about, that I wanted to bring up on here and say, yeah, that's a situation here. That's something that should be actually paid attention to and actually course corrected. And hopefully they do that. I want to see the Trios Championships back on television. I need to know that the AEW World title is inside that freaking briefcase. Show that it's been messed up, disfigured, something. It needs to be shown. Something needs to be done with that. And also, again, was there ever a higher power? Was there ever someone leading the Death Riders? Or was this all a part of Jon Moxley's cockamamie head? Something needs to be really established with that, okay? And soon. Seriously. Anything else that I have to mention on Dynamite? I don't think there's anything else per se. But yeah, that's AEW for you right there. I'm gonna move over into TNA. TNA and WWE, they have joined forces. They have this multi-year partnership. It's basically providing them crossover opportunities. It's not with WWE's main roster. It's with WWE's NXT roster in TNA, like they've been having since the summer. But it's been really cooling off these last, I'll say, 2 months. it was announced that, again, they're in a multi-year partnership. I was happy about it. I was excited about it because I've been saying on this freaking platform for the last 3 years since AEW got out of their partnership with TNA that an AEW and a WWE should be trying to go after TNA. They should. They should be trying to go after TNA so they can have people go to TNA and do a couple things. Because both AEW and WWE have bloated rosters, bar none. You can look at AEW's roster, you see it's completely bloated. People not on television, people not being made to do anything, people are backstage wasting time. Same thing in WWE. You can see people on the main roster that's on their roster page doing nothing in the back, wasting their time. Same thing with NXT, in the back, wasting their time. But with NXT, there's always a revolving door. You always have different individuals at least getting TV time, messing around in backstage segments, so they're at least doing something, but they're not like getting to establish themselves like that. You know what I mean? So both of them have bloated rosters, and TNA is the perfect spot. TNA, to me, and I've said this before, it is ECW when you look at it. ECW back in the 90s, they were that underground revolutionary group of guys, the land of misfit toys, where we're here, we're on the outskirts of everybody, but the main companies will look at us and they'll start snagging some of our talent because they see what we have here, and ta-da. TNA in this situation, they're again the land of, I'll say, chaotic toys, or I can't even say misfit. I'll say the forgotten or ran through toys. Okay? They are the company that you have guys that were on top in WWE that are there. Guys that were on top in the independent stages, like in Ring of Honor, they're there. Guys that maybe had a little run in AEW, they go there to TNA. You have independent stars that haven't really made their names like that. They go to TNA and they start building their name up like that. TNA is the perfect platform for everyone, basically, what I'm getting at here. And for it to either refreshing you up to get you ready for the main roster, like for AEW or WWE to call you up, or for you, if you're from those places, to come there to refreshen your character up, have you throw things at the wall, see what sticks, and get you called right back to these companies. Or you could be a TNA person, stay there for a period of time, or stay there for however long you want until you decide that you want to leave, and then you have the main companies ready to grab you up. TNA is perfect. So I've been saying that for the last, 3 years. And now that WWE has officially made it official that they have a deal structure with them, I'm happy for them. I am happy that we're going to get people going over from NXT to TNA, TNA to NXT, and bopping in and out from their live events, premium live events, their pay-per-views to TNA's pay-per-views. As a matter of fact, this upcoming Sunday, tomorrow, because I'm dropping this on Saturday, they already started to promote NXT showing up at TNA's Genesis. So that's going to be interesting. Masha Slamovich, she popped up to NXT this week. She was in the crowd. She's the TNA Knockouts champion. And you had Cora Jade before she got into her match. When she made her entrance, she looked at Masha Slamovich. So we kind of can see that, okay, Masha and Cora, they might have something down the line that we can see. Which, again, I don't think no one will have a problem with, because hey, it's two people from two different companies mixing it up. And that's great. For me, I feel personally that with the partnership actually being what it is now, I think that we need to see people, yes, jumping from one company to another, showing up on different companies' television shows, but also have them winning different companies' championships. I thought we would have got that with the Wesley and Zachary Wentz business when Zach was the X Division champion and Wes was having his beef with Zach. I thought that would have happened there, but that didn't happen. Joe Hendry going against Ethan Page. That could have happened there, but they decided not to do that there. But now with the official partnership actually happening, expect it to happen. Expect it to come about. I think that was a little test run they had in the summer to get the people, see how they feel about it. But now with this being official, expect championships to be flowing from one company to another. Because once that starts happening, we'll really be cooking with oil and really cooking with gas. And I can't wait for it. Especially First Class. Especially them. AJ Francis? What? AJ Francis popping back up into NXT, and they mentioned his name Top Dollar, and I could just see him grabbing the mic and say, my name's not Top Dollar. That was my slave name. My name's AJ Francis, and he could just get a lot of heat on himself by just saying that. But AJ Francis, he wants to be the best heel out there. And what better way to say my slave name? And that would have caused a lot of heat on him, and I think he'll enjoy it. And also Casey Navarro, a guy that's, again, young, upcoming, that has spent time on the indies, getting the time to be with AJ Francis and them popping up on NXT. That'll be great. And them getting reunited with Rich Swann. And Rich Swann, I feel he needs to have his God, because they gave it to Zachary Wentz, his retribution story. Because he got fired in WWE some years ago because of personal issues. Him coming back, him getting his redemption story to actually perform back in WWE NXT while being a TNA guy, I think that'll be a great redemption arc for him. But First Class, excuse me again, is a group that I do want to see in NXT and see what they can do. I do. That's one group specifically I do want to see over there. And if they could get the system over there, saying they would toss Steels, I would like to see them too pop up over there on NXT. But again, I digress. That's the deal with TNA this week. TNA, their show though, it was cool. You had Josh Alexander, Mike Santana. They had their confrontation. They upped the ante with their match. It was supposed to be a standard one-on-one matchup they were supposed to have at TNA Genesis, but they bumped it up to an I Quit match. So now that match has been made to an I Quit. And again, with Josh Alexander's contract dwindling down, it is more than likely this will probably be his last time you see him in TNA before he bounces, because his contract is up. Well, going to be up in February. He'll probably say I quit to Mike Santana. He'll probably have his last couple of dates with TNA doing the tapings or the live showing that they will have this upcoming Thursday. And then that'll be it. But yeah, that happened there. We had First Class going against Eric Young and Steve Macklin. You had the Hardys going against Sami Callihan and PCO. If Sammy and PCO would have won, they would have got added to the Hardys and Rascals at Genesis. That didn't happen. The Hardys won that matchup. I forgot to mention EY and Steve Macklin. They beat First Class too. So there you go with that. You had Leon Slater going against Trent Seven. Leon Slater, that's another guy that could pop over into NXT. They could just do amazing things because he's a young guy that I did not know nothing about until he popped over into TNA in the middle of 2024, and he has been a great addition, great guy for the X division. But again, his high flying ability, I think he will work great with some of the guys over there at NXT. But yeah, man. That's another guy. He had a great match with Trent Seven. That was good. Yeah, that's what I can remember from TNA. But yeah, TNA and WWE NXT, they have a deal. Can't wait to see how this goes into the future. And now moving off of TNA, let's move over into WWE. And since I'm just talking about NXT, let's get to that. NXT this week, it was cool. You had Obafemi coming out to do his championship talk in front of the people. He talked about how this was his destiny. He was destined for this. He's not like all these other people that said they always dreamt of this. They felt that they could do this. He's different. He said he's the ruler, all that good stuff at NXT. Nobody can stop him. Tony D'Angelo, the NXT North America champion, he would kind of defer to that, saying that he is the only guy that has pinned Obafemi and beat Obafemi, so he actually can stop Oba. That's where Ridge Holland will come out. Ridge and Tony D'Angelo, they've been having a little scruff with one another for the past couple weeks. So they had a tussle. They fought up the ramp into the back. Obafemi will be watching this, and unbeknownst to him, this is when Eddie Thorpe will come in with, I want to say, he had like the strap, like you use in a strap match. He had the strap with him. He like chop blocks Obafemi behind the knee, hits him with a DDT, holds up the NXT championship. Obafemi, he would go to Ava and tell her he wants Eddie Thorpe. He doesn't care what she says. He wants him. So she makes the match official for next week's NXT. Obafemi goes against Eddie Thorpe for the NXT Championship, as well as Tony D'Angelo will put up his North American Championship against Ridge Holland next week. Also on NXT, we had the NXT tag titles being defended. Nathan Frazier and Axiom, they defended their tag team titles against OTM. They will retain their said NXT tag titles there. It was funny how DIY they were at NXT this week, and they sat there and watched. This could lead to DIY mixing up with Nathan Frazier and Axiom later down the line. I can't wait to see that because that'll be great. Big thing, you had Roxanne at the end of the show. She was contemplating her time on NXT, saying how NXT might not need her, all this type of stuff. And then you had Bayley come out. Bayley made a shocking appearance on NXT, caught everybody by surprise. She gave Roxanne her flowers for being NXT champion, but she mentions how NXT is in good hands with Julia, Stephanie Vacour, and all the other ladies in the back. Roxanne will kind of have to shut Bayley down to say that at one point, Bayley was her role model, and Bayley was the woman in NXT holding records, but Roxanne has crushed those records, and she's been better than Bayley has been in NXT. So, in the end, you get those two scrapping with one another. This could lead to those two having some type of business down there in NXT, which I'm good with, because you know what? Main roster mixing up with NXT talent, always been great. And again, I have to hearken to this. It can lead to even TNA people mixing up with NXT guys, which can lead to main roster people mixing up with NXT and TNA people on NXT. That'll be the perfect ground place for that. So again, there's a lot of things that we can see in the upcoming future in 2025 with NXT. Anything else of importance that happened on NXT? That's not to my mind. So yeah, those are the real important beats that happened on NXT this week. And now let's move over to the main roster of WWE. On Monday Night Raw, we had CM Punk come out, talk about beating Seth Rollins last week on the debut episode of Raw on Netflix. He talks about his part of going to the Royal Rumble, entering the Royal Rumble, winning the Royal Rumble, then outwalks Seth Rollins. Seth would talk to Punk, saying that he is a man of his word. He said he wasn't going to miss Raw, whether he won or lost to Punk. And now his dream is to just crush CM Punk's dreams of trying to win the Royal Rumble and main event WrestleMania. So you see him enter himself into the Royal Rumble. Then you get Drew McIntyre come out. And Drew McIntyre would say that he's entering the Royal Rumble, but he's doing it just to make sure that Roman Reigns does not get back power, because Roman Reigns has this freaking stupid Ula Fala. Those are Drew McIntyre's words, not mine. And he doesn't want history to repeat itself. He is there to make sure that Roman does not win that Rumble and go off to take back the WWE Championship. So Drew is basically trying to be everyone's hero here, and he wants Punk and Seth to stop being idiots and kind of like pay attention to the bigger picture here. Roman Reigns is the biggest threat right now. So I like how Drew did come out there, and again, it was kind of an animosity feel because Punk, Drew, and Seth, they all three men don't like one another. But Seth, his mind is clearly still stated on Punk. Punk's mind is clearly not on Seth, but hey, if Seth wants to go and throw, he's ready to go and do it. His mind is on main eventing WrestleMania to fulfill his dream and his destiny, while Drew, hey man, he wants to call everybody idiots for not focusing on the bigger picture, which is Roman Reigns right now. Roman Reigns, the dominant force, has been the dominant main villain of WWE for the past 5 years. So, yeah, you had different mindsets for each of these three main guys, but every single one of them have their purpose. So I did like seeing that. We had the WWE debut of Penta, which Michael Cole, when Penta made his entrance, he said this was the worst kept secret in wrestling, which he's true, because we have been speculating for months. People online have been speculating for months that Penta was moving over to WWE because there were rumors and speculations about Penta and Phoenix's contracts supposedly being up with AEW at one point. Tony Khan saying, nah, I'm going to put injury time on your contracts. More specifically, Rey Fenix's. Penta, he's out of his contract. He was radio silent. We didn't know when Penta was showing up. And then you had these vignettes of silhouette of Penta's mask popping up on Monday Night Raw slowly but surely. Then last week they officially said Penta. And then this week, before Monday Night Raw even airs, and I mean hours before it airs, on, I want to say Twitter, right? You had the WWE shop Bayne, like, really sent out a tweet of Penta in his WWE shirt official gear with the mask that they're selling as well, and people were having a freaking like, oh my god, what are they doing? People were really like saying, yo, this is not how this usually goes. Because usually whenever someone debuts or they get like return, usually allow them to return to the show first, and then probably like 30 minutes after they made their return, or probably even sooner after they made their return on television, you get the tweet out saying, hey, this person's on WWE, oh my god, the generic stuff. And then they will hit them with the WWE shop where you can buy their official merchandise that WWE's already set up on their shop and just right there for you guys to start buying. Penta, he was ready. WWE, they were ready. Penta had a match with Chad Gable. Good match with Chad Gable. Penta, he cuts a promo after the match is over, and Penta talks about how he's happy to be in WWE. This is what it looks like when you have to bust through a couple things, and this is where he's wanted to be. And he said a couple things in Spanish, but in general, Penta was very happy. He had his family in the front row. His daughter, I did not know this, was crying in the front row. I didn't know that was his daughter, because you saw a girl crying in the front row. And then again, the people online talked about how that's Penta's daughter's crying that was crying there. But it was very emotional moment for Penta and his family, and it was a good, heartfelt moment to see that. And I'm glad Penta's in WWE. I'm glad his family got to enjoy that, seeing him there. And also, you had people online from AEW sending their well wishes to Penta. Alex Abrahantes saying he misses him, but he's happy that his friend is happy. You had Mikey Ruckers, who was the guy that makes the music over there in AEW. He kind of sent out like a sigh face because he misses Penta over there. Thunder Rosa congratulated him. A couple other talent from AEW congratulated Penta, but it was a great feeling just to see Penta over there in WWE. Great. And Chad Gable had a great match with Pentagon. That was great. And now, with Chad Gable doing that, hopefully now the rest of 2025, we start getting Chad Gable on the momentum to be a champion. That's what I want. That's what needs to happen. So let's start doing it, okay? Now, Another big thing that happened on Raw this week, we had the finals for the Women's Intercontinental Championship matchup. We had Lyra Valkyria versus Dakota Kai. And Lyra Valkyria is your first ever Women's Intercontinental Champion. Her and Dakota Kai had a good match on Monday Night Raw, but Lyra is your first ever Women's Intercontinental Champion. Certain people wanted Dakota to win, which is understandable because Dakota has had a lot of setbacks in her WWE career, from injuries to being in groups to seem like she's the third or fourth woman out in said group that she's in, to now that she's finally getting the opportunity to actually shine because, one, she's earned it, and also, two, the people want to see it. And she just came up a little bit short to Lyra. People wanted Dakota to win, which I understand it. But Lyra, being the rookie, quote unquote, on the main roster that popped up from NXT, she's been having a dominant rookie year on the main roster. I feel she was in the finals with Nia Jax for the Women's Queen of the Ring. She had that nice back and forth with Io, which Io won that battle royal, lastly eliminating Lyra to become the number one contender for the Women's World Champion whenever she faced off against Liv Morgan. I want to say that was at Saturday Night's Main Event. That's how Io got that, by lastly eliminating Lyra. Lyra had a dominant and a nice showing in this tournament. Lyra's been putting in that work this year, so for her to be the first ever Women's Intercontinental Champion, it was kind of warranted based off of the work she's been doing. And also, I remember me saying whenever she made her debut on NXT, not NXT UK, but this one, they were NXT UK shut down, and they started bringing all the NXT UK talent over to the NXT over here in America. I remember when she had her debut, and I said, I don't know what it is about Lyra, but I see something. And I don't know what WWE see, but I see something with her. I just got to wait and see what it is, but I see something. And you see it right there. She has something. And she's a Women's Intercontinental Champion. She has the work ethic. She has the look. She just has something about her that makes you like, So I'm glad that she is the first Women's Intercontinental Champion, but Dakota Kai shouldn't hang her head. She will be Intercontinental Champion before people know it. We just got to give Lyra this time to be champion and let her up that title into prestige. And then I can see Dakota taking it off of her second. If not Dakota, I can see Shayna Baszler doing it. And then I can see Dakota taking off of Shayna because they have history dating back to NXT. That'll be a nice story if they want to do that. But Dakota Kai, she'll be champion. Just don't be too hasty. Just take your time. What else happened major on Monday Night Raw? Damian Priest and Finn Balor, they had a street fight. Damian Priest would win that. Hopefully now the Damian Priest and Finn Balor thing is over, because I said it as well. Finn, he should be world champion before this year's over with. If not, I'm going to say this right now. This might sound crazy, but I don't care. I want to propose a trade. I want to propose a trade for WWE and AEW. If Finn Balor does not win a world championship before this year is over, I want to make a trade for Danhausen. I want Finn Balor to be traded for Danhausen. That's what I want. People might say that's a crazy trade, but people might see exactly the vision of where I'm about to take you here, because WWE is a great entertainment marketing machine. We've seen it with their Penta gear immediately, with the t-shirt and mask completely just on deck, ready to go, right there. Just throw it out there. Wop, wop. I can see them doing the exact same thing with Danhausen. Danhausen is a great character. He is a great funny style character. We need a funny-listic type of character like Santino Marella. Danhausen, he can do that. Danhausen is a great marketable face. When you see him with the face paint and all that, kids will want to get their face painted up like Danhausen, act like Danhausen, all that. I can see it happening. So again, he could be making a buttload of money there, giving WWE a buttload of money there, and also the character work. Imagine Danhausen and R-Truth together at one point. Just have them two together at one point. That's entertainment right there. I see the vision. So that's that for the WWE side. And for the AEW side, they are honed in on it being a professional wrestling company. We are focused on showing the best wrestling that you see over here on the States. Finn Balor, he is one of the best wrestlers out there right now. And he has a lot of history with all those guys over there in AEW. He has history with Kenny Omega. He has history with Pac. He has history with Adam Cole. He has history with Ricochet. He can make history with MJF. There's a lot of dream matches that you can see over there with Finn Balor over there in AEW. So, again, I would propose a trade. Danhausen for Finn Balor if Finn Balor does not become world champion by the end of 2025. That's just me throwing something out there. Since now Finn and Damian Priest are over. Alright? Anything else of important that happened on Monday Night Raw this week? I don't think so. I don't think it's so because it's not coming to me. So off that, SmackDown, wrestling show, point blank. You had Tiffany Stratton going against Bayley in the main event of SmackDown. Tiffany will retain her women's championship, which again, not a surprise to no one, but she did it clean. So congrats to Tiffany for that. Roxanne, she was in the front row watching this. Bayley did confront Roxanne as she was facing off against Tiffany. So again, we are going down the Roxanne and Bayley path. We are going to see that happen. If not at NXT, we're going to build it up more at the Rumble and have Roxanne probably throw Bayley out, or Bayley throw Roxanne out, and Roxanne being pissed, get back in the ring and throw Bayley out, and then they'll do something with that there. But again, Tiffany retained her women's WWE Women's Championship. We had the vignette of Charlotte Flair. So Charlotte Flair is coming back. She'll probably pop back up at the Rumble as well. We had the biggest thing to me that happened on the show was Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa, he was not on SmackDown last week because of the whole losing to Roman Reigns in Tribal Combat, so he had to take a week to lick his wounds. So he popped up on SmackDown this week after Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga beat up on Jimmy and Carmelo Hayes. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Monday Night Raw, Jey Uso. Jey Uso challenged Gunther for the World Championship. So they'll be having that match at Saturday Night Main Event. So there you go. That also happened on Monday Night Raw. Anyway, getting back to SmackDown. Jacob, Tama beat up on Jimmy, Carmelo. Solo Sikoa pops up. Solo walks over into the ring, and Jacob hands him the mic, and Solo can't say nothing. People are booing him. As he brings the mic closer to his mouth, the people boo him again. So he decides to say, screw it. He just drops the mic, and he leaves the ring. Tama and Jacob are confused by this, and they just watch Solo leave through the crowd to the back. And Jacob Fatu, he decides to speak. He said he's tired of this. He's tired of being disrespected. He's tired of being disrespected by the people. He doesn't care whether you love him or hate him. He's going to make you guys start feeling him. So Jacob is now going to be on this warpath now. So this opens up the floodgate of, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, they are rogue guys. They are men that have nobody controlling them at the leash anymore. Because it seems Jacob has lost, not Jacob, but Solo has lost his mojo. Maybe he might get it back with the coronation of Roman Reigns that's supposed to be happening on the 27th on Monday Night Raw. We might get that there with Jacob, and Tama tries to disrupt that, and then Solo might have to tell him to stand down, and Solo might actually acknowledge Roman. That could probably happen on Monday Night Raw, and that would really send Jacob and Tama really over the edge, especially Jacob. But we'll wait and see with that. But Jacob Fatu, he is off the leash now. We're probably going to see an unleashed Jacob Fatu now going off into the future, especially with Tama. Can't wait to see it. What else happened on SmackDown? We had Rey Mysterio pop up on the show since they were in California. I want to say San Diego. And he pops up on the show. He's talking about how he's going to enter the Royal Rumble. Cool. Kevin Owens comes out, still holding the Wing Eagle WWE Championship. He gives Rey the praise, saying, hey, I mean this. I actually do respect you. You're a legend in this business. I really do hope that you win the Royal Rumble, so then you face me at WrestleMania for this championship. And Rey Mysterio has to tell Kevin he appreciates that, but you're not the champion. Cody Rhodes is. So then you see Kevin quickly snap on Rey and yell at him. And again, Kevin Owens tries to sneak attack Rey. Rey will see it coming. They start throwing hands a little bit. Get a match set up for later in the night. Rey and KO, they have their match. KO beats Rey. After the match is over, KO grabs Rey up, grabs his hand, shake it, and it seems genuine until KO kicks him in the gut, tries to go for the package pile driver again, but Cody Rhodes will run out. Cody Rhodes would attack Kevin Owens. They'll be separated again by security personnel and backstage people, separating the two, and it was made that there's apparently an addendum that Nick Aldis added to the contract between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. And he would announce that at Saturday night's main event, it would be Cody and Kevin Owens having their contract signing, and Shawn Michaels will be there to moderate the contract signing. So that's what's set up for Saturday night's main event off of SmackDown. I don't think there's nothing else that really happened on SmackDown as well. So that's all that happened on SmackDown. One last little tip, because it just hit me, because this will be the last thing that I will be talking about here. It has been rumored and speculated again that Malachi Black is done with AEW. He's wrapping up, or he has wrapped up his time with AEW. I don't know nothing. Nobody knows nothing. I want to make this perfectly clear again. Nobody knows anything about this. The only people that knows are the people that works at AEW's offices and Malachi Black himself. Okay? Now, I'm going to go off of the stench of this. If Malachi Black is done with AEW, if he is, I think that that's great. Not only for AEW, but also for Malachi Black. Because it allows both Buddy Matthews and Brody King and Julia to do things their own ways now. Brody King and Buddy and Julia, they can come together because they've been on television recently more. And you can see them be a group of just three people that the fans actually rock with. That the fans don't have online discourse about, like, oh my god, this person is boo-hooing the way that they would do with Malachi Black. Brody King is a guy that the fans actually do care for. They want to see him progress. They want to see him become a champion in AEW. Same thing with Buddy. They like his work. They want to see him become a champion. Same thing with Julia. They like her character work. They like her theme, which kicks, which is awesome. Okay? All three of them can do something. They can still be a stable unit just without Malachi Black being there. That's great, okay? If that is the case, all right? And it's great for Malachi too, because we all know where he's going after this. We all know he's going to WWE because his wife is there. Why not be around your wife? That's one. And two, Triple H runs it. Triple H, when Malachi Black was Aleister Black at NXT, he had a great run down there at NXT. And I feel he's going to have a great run on the main roster because he has a previous relationship with Triple H. They know what each other wants. And Malachi Black, Aleister Black, he could be a great integral piece for whatever you need him to be on the main roster. Because right now, when you look at the main roster, he could do something with CM Punk. He could do something with Karrion Kross. He could do something with Seth, because him and Seth have previous business. He could do something with Cody Rhodes, because him and Cody have previous business from their time in AEW. He could do something with, not Roman Reigns yet. You could do Roman, which I think that would be cool, but I think that would be too quick for that. But you could do something with him and Roman. You could do something with him and Randy. You could do something with him and a lot of different people up there in WWE on the main roster. Or if you want him to go to NXT, you can work with people down there in NXT. Because again, you have the people down there that are either developing themselves, or you got people that are coming from TNA as well. And again, that's a nice playground for him to mess with. So, yeah, man, we don't know what's going on at all. But if he is gone from AEW, I don't think it's bad for him. I think that it's good. I think that it's good because he wasn't really getting a lot of time on AEW like that anyway. So, time will tell if he is or isn't. I say if he is gone, let him pop up at the Rumble. Let him pop up at the Royal Rumble. Let him be a surprise if his contract is already up like that. But if not, have him show up after WrestleMania. Because if he shows up in between Rumble and Mania, he's going to get lost in the shuffle. Because they already have their stories that they already want to push for WrestleMania lined up. Already set up. Have him show up literally the night after WrestleMania. Whether it be the night of Raw after Mania, or NXT after Stand and Deliver, or SmackDown after Mania. Have him show up on one of those freaking shows after Mania. If his contract is truly up. If you don't plan to use him at Royal Rumble. Yeah, that's about it. But again, we'll have to wait and see if Aleister Black is truly gone from AEW. Again, this stuff always happens, if not yearly, bi-yearly. They do this with him. But time will tell. Is there anything else I do want to discuss? Nah, I'll talk about the Jada Parker thing on tomorrow's episode, because that's a news topic that I think that we need to have a discussion. We do. So I'll do that on my Sunday Sunday news episode there. But anything else? Nah, that's about it. So with that being said, this has been your Wrestling Highlights of the Week, presented by My 2 Cents Podcast, hosted by G2. He is I and I am him. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you guys enjoyed what I talked about today. And do note that I will be having a episode tomorrow, my Sunday episode, where I talk about everything in the news, hot news topic that happened this week. So expect that to come out tomorrow. And also, again, enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you guys have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Be blessed. Be careful out there, okay? And again, this has been the Wrestling Highlights of the Week, presented by My 2 Cents Podcast, hosted by G2. He is I and I am him. All of you all, be safe. Bye-bye now.